Ankana over here and my other colleague Sandeep, I was sure that they must have been smiling as you were speaking, because the two things that are the closest to my heart are courage and compassion. So being in an audience that's thinking about courage and the heart is very special. I feel very lucky to be here. I'm also not my best right now, and I just wanted to say that at the beginning of the talk. On the way here, we got some very tragic news that one of our 8th standard girls committed suicide yesterday evening. And the reason I say that is because when I get introduced so kindly with such warmth, I'm always thinking like we have such a long way to go, and whatever we do just isn't enough. And so today, really, I feel grateful for this opportunity to talk a little bit. But even more, I really want to leave you with the idea that all of us together need to do more for our children, because we're not still giving our kids what they need. I wanted to start with a very short video that, for me, talks about why we do the work that we do. And as you're watching little Kusum speak, she's a 6th standard child. When the video was shot, she'd been in a Teach for India classroom for 2 years, Delhi government school, was grade levels behind where she was supposed to be. Didn't speak a word of English when we started working with her. So that's the context. I want you to think about 2 things as you watch this few-second clip. What do you see and what do you feel? Okay? What do you see and what do you feel?
What I think an excellent education is that not only studying and being good in all subjects and getting full marks and all that. For me, an excellent education is getting full marks in your values and inside your heart what type of person you are. I have improved a lot in last 2 years, because in the class I get angry a lot of time and I start being angry and shouting on everyone, but now I have improved a lot. You know, I became more courage than before, because I was very scared from everything near people around me, and whenever I'm talking to someone, I was very shy to talk to someone. But now I'm very courage, because in last 2 years I learned how to be courage from Maya. The vision for our community is one day everyone will get an excellent education. So it is talking about everyone. That means each child will get an excellent education, not only one person. So that's why we all should work together and think about the vision.
So she goes on to talk for many more minutes, very excited, but to me, like, that says so much, even those few seconds. And I wish I had the time to actually open this up and ask you to answer this question. What did you see and what did you feel? But in the interest of time, I'm going to tell you what I saw and what I felt. I see the power of children. I think one of our biggest learnings is that children aren't just the recipients of what we give them, but they are really the people who are going to be at the forefront of our movement, driving it forward. And when I see little Kusum stand up and say, like, every child in my community, not one, but every child can get an excellent education, I believe that she can lead us to that place. I see education redefined. I think so beautiful to be in an audience that's thinking about business leaders that care, right? And I think we don't generally put those things together. Today in our country, education is about yourself. It's about passing an exam to get a job, to fulfill your individual goals. But Kusum shows me that it's more than that. It's not just about her individual potential, it's about her contribution more broadly to the world. And finally, I see a world where one day all children have that confidence, that courage, that heart, that conviction. And I know that if we're able to give kids that, everything will be different. So what do we do? There are two paths to what we do at Teach for India, and this has been an incredible personal journey for me of 25 years now. The first thing is we run a fellowship program, a 2-year fellowship program, and I was thrilled to walk in today to find the father of Sana, who was in our first cohort of the fellowship, and also a faculty member whose son is joining this year the fellowship. So the whole span. So that the Teach for India Fellowship gets people who've never thought about teaching and contributing to education to spend 2 years full-time obsessed with putting their kids on a different life path. And the idea is that 2 years is about contribution to kids, but it's about learning and driving your own leadership through that experience. One quick story. This is Avantika. In our second cohort, 2010, she came in. You'll see the pictures, 2 very different pictures of her. She worked for 10 years as a news anchor before she left that world to join Teach for India as a full-time teacher. And she came in the beginning, and we run a training institute for our fellows. And during the training institute, she came to me in tears, and she said, I've been successful 10 years of my life, and I can't do this. It's just too hard. The kids are too far behind, there are too many problems, and I'm going to quit. And so we all sat around her. This happens very often in the fellowship, and we said, Avantika, stick it out. You can do it. You can do it. I remember walking into her classroom 18 months later. She was teaching in Delhi, a group of kids who a year and a half before were not able to read and write simple words in English. And I walked into that classroom, and the kids were sitting at the edge of their seats, and they were analyzing the unabridged version of Oliver Twist, right? And my colleague was with me, and I sort of whispered to her, and I said, quickly, Google and find out what grade level text is the unabridged version of Oliver Twist. And she looked at me and she said, that's a grade 6 text. These kids in class 3 were reading a grade 6 text after 18 months of intervention. And this actually isn't a story about reading, but it's a story about what happened to those children and to that teacher in the process of setting a vision that nobody thought was possible. Right? It changed everything. What it made them believe was possible changed everything about their lives. So that's what we do with the fellowship, and today there are 1,100 fellows teaching across 7 cities, just doing incredible things every single day. And then the second part of what we do is the Alumni Movement, and really the idea is that the 2 years is just step 1. But that because of those 2 years, our alumni can have an even greater impact, not just on children, but on the education system in the long term. So to bring that to life, just a few quick examples. This is Ashish, who after teaching for 2 years in the fellowship, is now living in a Naxalite area in a small village, because he wants to understand how the curriculum needs to look different for children in a different part of the country. And his hope is to develop a contextualized curriculum and be able to take it to the government to show them that we really need to value children's context and community when we think about what they learn. This is Levitt, who was obsessed during the fellowship with science. He was just like a little bit of a mad scientist. And he, after the fellowship, started something called Life Labs, which now works across many, many schools, providing low-cost, high-quality science experiments to kids who've never done them before, and training teachers at the same time. So his piece in the puzzle is science. And this is Madhukar, who very interestingly, his full-time job is to bring stakeholders in Pune together around the same table, government, kids, NGOs, corporates, to redefine a vision for Pune's municipal schools. So he's what we call a systems leader, and he's saying that my full-time job needs to be to bring people around a table so that we can really drive change together. So that's a little bit about just 3 of our 1,000 alumni. They're all over the country, urban, rural. They're working as school leaders, they're working in curriculum, they're working in technology and education. But the big idea is that they are working together until that day that all children across the country, every single child, attains not just an education, but an excellent education. So I thought I'd end by just sharing a little bit about one thing that I've learned on my journey since I started. This was the first photograph I ever took. I was 18 years old when I started my work, and I had a camera the first time I went into a community, and this was the first child that I met. Her name was Pinky. So from that day, through this journey of trying to understand what does it mean to redraw our country for our children, this is what I'm learning. I'm learning the power of little. And I think this has been a big, big shift for me from many years of thinking that there's some big solution that's going to change the country to actually saying the power is little. And so I've chosen a few examples to illustrate what I mean by the power of little. And since my greatest learning has come from children who are still little, I'm going to use those examples. Little thoughts. This is Alex. She was 4 years old when she was diagnosed with terminal cancer. And unlike most children, she decided she wanted to do something to really change the world. So she started a lemonade stand, and she started selling homemade lemonade and donating the money to other children who were struggling with cancer. And this became a rage. It became a movement across the United States where kids all over the country started selling lemonade to raise an awareness and to raise resources for cancer-afflicted children. And Alex passed away after that. But that simple idea, that thought, that act of bravery, a little thing, but so powerful when it adds up. Little words, so from little thoughts to little words. I'm going to show you one last video whose words are really meaningful and I think underpin what we believe at Teach for India.
This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. This little light of mine, I'm gonna let it shine. Let it shine, let it shine, let it shine.
So that's just a little bit of a song that we did as part of our musical, but this idea of words being powerful, little words, the idea of light, and I was thrilled to come in here and see SParc and the light again here. I think a lot of synergy. And finally, little actions, and I think for me this has been the most powerful thing. This is a child of ours from Delhi, Mansi, who very tragically got bitten by a snake a few months ago and passed away just minutes after they managed to get her to the hospital. And I was in Delhi a couple of weeks after that, and I went to visit her family. And I'll never forget one thing that her father, who was sobbing, distraught, said. He talked about Pratik, who was the fellow who taught Mansi. And he said, Didi, he said, Pratik felt that Mansi, her nutrition wasn't that good, so every day he would carry milk for her to drink. And he looked at me and he said, what teacher does that? That every day he would carry milk. And he said, over those months that Pratik taught Mansi, my daughter changed. It's like I came to know a different person. She became so confident. She became so full of life. And I thought about that. Like, I'm sure Pratik never knew the value of those little things, but it had meant so much. And so little things add up, and the work that we really do is saying that until every child, when you go outside the hotel today and you pass a child on the street, until we're able to give every child an excellent education, we're not going to be able to do what our logo says, really redraw the country, not just for our children, but for all of us. Thank you.